Verne's Africa expedition ended rather abruptly. Yet in his room in San Francisco, he recalls this time of turmoil vividly, even 10 years after.
I spent most of my time down here, which used to be called Fort Lamy. Now it's called Njamena, Ndjamena. And at any rate, this is Bull up here. When I first went over there, we were at there. And then when I went to work for the oil company over there, we were drilling up at Rig up in here. We didn't get any oil up there. We didn't get any oil any place. But up here was where the war broke out. Up in here when Libya came down into here. This is the Tibesti Range up in here. And there were Cuban troops up in there. There were Russian advisors. I don't know what kind of advice they were going to give people with a submachine gun, but they were advising. My best advice to anybody when somebody else has got a submachine gun is get the hell out of here. That's all. But at any rate,
Verne experienced the Civil War. The tension between the Muslim and the Christian population of Chad erupted in bloodshed once again. Verne, like all foreigners in that country, was evacuated to France at the very last moment.
Everybody else got out before I did. And I was beginning to wonder if I would ever get out over there. Because when they came down to Jamena, they came down there with French 75s from World War I stuff. French 75 is a pretty good sized cannon. The first thing that they demolished was the Catholic church there. That church never bothered anybody. Nobody was shooting at them from the church, but they knocked that over. And they tried to move down to Mundu and Assar. But the northern part of Chad is almost 85% Muslim. Down in Sar and Mundu, that's a Christian area down in there. Well, we had some trouble down there, but not an awful lot. And I was working in the southern part where it was safer. I always like to be where it's safer with that noise up there. But I've been up in the desert country up in there. I used to fly over all this stuff in there all the time.
Actually, Verne had other plans after Chad. He wanted to sail around the world. His yacht, anchored in Sausalito, was all ready to leave. Verne was forced to return to San Francisco and settle down among those his own age. Yet he didn't give up. A year and a half later, he stepped out of his wheelchair and started to walk again. Since he couldn't play the violin well anymore, he decided to switch to the accordion. George Washington Square above the harbor area around Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco. Here, Chinatown merges with the Italian section and the red light district of the city. The park area of Washington Square lies in the particular section of town called North Beach. Verne returned to his hometown, San Francisco, where he was born on the 18th of April, 1906, a day which meant death for many people.
My parents were in a Clark hotel, and it was totally demolished in a quake. And they moved all of those people that were still able to walk and cry for help. That they moved them out to Golden Gate Park. They pitched tents out there, and the earthquake took place at 5:30 in the morning, and I was born 7:30 that night, 2 months prematurely. I wasn't supposed to be along for another 2 months. Somebody in this damn town owes me for 2 months board and room. I figured that they do it.
Since then, 83 years have gone by. Verne is back in his hometown, but he can't really call it home. In the Casa Costanzo, the home for senior citizens of Italian origin, Verne finally succeeds in renting a room. This new refuge, with no special care or food provided, comes to him only thanks to the fact that his mother was Italian. As always, Verne must care for himself. Verne is 14 when he starts to shape his own life. He runs away from home to Los Angeles. There, he pedals around as a telegram messenger. He manages to get a racing bicycle. He becomes a professional rider. And while taking part in a 6-day race in Chicago, he gets an offer to go to Germany.
We went on a 6-month contract. Well, the other 5 guys came home within about 6 weeks, and I stayed 11 years. That was in 1929. It was like professional wrestling. Just bullshit, that's all. But it was hard work. Anyway, you had to make it look good. The only time I got away from there was I raced in Spain on one occasion. I did a Tour de France in 1934. I did 1 race in Italy. The rest of the time, I was in München at the Velodrome in München. Those weren't 6-day races we had there. Those were sprint races behind a Schrittmacher.
Verne studies at Göttingen University, physics, mathematics, and chemistry.
I wish that I had paid a little bit more attention to academia there rather than the other things, because I had a wonderful opportunity there at Göttingen. I had a wonderful opportunity there.
Germany in the 30s. The disaster is on its way. At the time, Verne lives in Munich. Dachau lies on its outskirts. Though an American citizen, Verne gets fully involved.
I am a member of the Masonic Lodge, and we had 140 men with the Masonic Lodge who were involved in getting children and educators and Jews out of Germany. Sometimes it was pretty tough. Sometimes it was awfully tough because you had the border patrol to worry about also. They would shoot first and ask questions afterward if you were alive to answer any questions. Children, I've had them on my back, on skis, take them into the Schweiz. Yeah. If the war hadn't come along, I would still be in Germany. I was quite satisfied and happy there. I was making good money. I had a nice place to live. I could eat well, and it was great. I love Munich.